We are joined by Kamini Govender, who's the Treasurer at ABSA Regional Operations. Thank you so much for your time, Kamini. We do appreciate it. Let's start off with how many people think the Treasury office is the back office. How do you explain the strategic importance of Treasury functioning in modern day banking?
Thanks, Heidi, and thank you for having me. Gosh, that's quite a question, I must say. Not too sure if in any recent times I've ever heard anybody refer to it that way, but I can understand the context here. Look, I think, a treasury function has over the years become strategic to the way financial institutions, banks operate. It is at the heart of moving money to the right places. If I can simplify it in that way, it's got varying responsibilities. One, of course, to ensure that we are protecting the funds of our depositors, of our customers. Two, it's also around ensuring that, like I say, we're moving those funds into the right spaces, into the businesses that are fueling this economy, into the business activities that ultimately are there to support economic growth and generate the right returns for the markets we operate in, for the shareholders that have entrusted us, with their investments. So it's a complex, diverse function, and has evolved to really keep up with, as you say, modern day banking, where the responsibilities now span the complexities of interest rate risk management, foreign currency risk management, ultimately there to also provide stability to the institution as well as, the economies and the interbank systems that we're a part of. So I would say to anybody that sort of referred to it to maybe come and spend a few days with us.
Well, money and treasury is always a bit overwhelming, so sorry for calling it the back office. Obviously, treasury is central to managing liquidity and funding. And what would you say are the key liquidity challenges you face in African markets?
Look, operating on the continent is definitely complex.
Yeah.
It is different country by country. I know often we refer to, externally, people look onto our continent and they view us as Africa as if the dynamics are the same. But I can tell you, the challenges from a liquidity perspective to the way you manage risk really varies quite significantly across many countries and is dependent on political stability, economic stability in those countries, at a point in time.
Yeah.
Some of the key challenges we face, especially in turbulent times that we've been talking about here at this conference, is around actions that central banks have to take, which can restrict the flow of funds. Foreign currency is limited in terms of outflows in distressed economies. We see that in Mozambique. Botswana is coming through. We've seen that in Zambia. And that makes it a more complex environment for any business, operating in these countries. Concerns around currency devaluation is always there. While the impacts on customer and the local economy is significant, we also concern ourselves with the impact it has on sovereigns. Their ability to service debt becomes significantly more constrained when currencies are devalued, given how dependent this continent is on dollar financing. And I think overall, Heidi, it is the ability to grow these economies into larger scale. Economic productivity is key to be able to generate money supply, domestic money supply. And with that, we see it in our country, comes investment in infrastructure. Development financing needs are effectively met. So it's important to be able to have diversity of growth and scale of growth in the economies to address and manage, short-term liquidity pressures that often come up.
How important is it for there to be economic growth if you want to link it to more people being financially included on this continent? Because there is obviously a big issue. I mean, apparently the stats indicate that 1 in 5 people are financially excluded in South Africa. And there needs to be more of it. But there are obviously a lot of factors at play as to why that isn't the case. But would you say that economic growth is vital in all of this?
It is critical.
Yeah.
It's critical to the sustainability and, the financial stability of this continent, as it is, to any other market. As developing nations, we need to become less vulnerable to the geopolitical pressures around us, which means, you need significantly more domestic growth. You need economies to become more resilient, and that comes through economic productivity. That comes through more people participating in the economy, job creation. And, with that, you end up facilitating more substantive trade flows. Foreign companies have a stronger business case to operate on the continent. The ability to attract FDI is premised on the ability to show strong growth potential and execution of the economic growth promises that I think this continent always offers.
Great. Thanks so much for your insights. Thanks, Kamini.
Thank you, Heidi.